everything can very easily fall into place, and we don't have to stand up there with a placard in my hand saying we are fighting for feminism. That's not feminism. That itself is immediately shifting the whole consciousness. That itself will change history, and that itself will bring back dharma into that family. Following the rhythms of nature, so important. What should I eat? What I should not eat? How in my kitchen cabinet is the entire medicine closet is available.
Namaste, Yukta ji. Welcome
Namaste.
to SmJ again. And it's a pleasure to have you again. We are again actually coming back with a better topic and probably continuing with actually what we were discussing earlier. Yes. And without much ado, I will give it to Vidya ji for introduction, and then we will take it from there.
So namaste, a very good afternoon, a very good evening to one and all. For the second time on this platform of Satyameva Jayate, we are truly honored to have with us Shri Yukta Mookhey, Miss World 1999. Yukta ji, along with being Miss World, has several credentials to her name. Above everything else, Yukta ji hails from a Sanatani Punjabi family that survived the horrors of partition of India and Pakistan when they had to cross over to India, leaving behind all their material possessions in Pakistan in order to save the lives of their loved ones. This horrific intergenerational trauma was one of the reasons why Yukta ji grew up being deeply rooted in culture under the guidance of her guru, with education being based on the Guru Shishya Parampara. So, in short, Yukta ji, along with bringing glory to India as Miss World 1999, is also a student of Siddha Yoga Sadhana, a trained Waldorf educationist, a practitioner of respectful infant education and somatic intelligence and CST, that's craniosacral therapy, a lifestyle coach for sustainability in chemical-free living and earth-friendly practices, an environmentalist working towards water conservation and protection of agricultural lands, a certified prenatal and postnatal psychologist, a Reiki master, a moon mother, and so many, many more credentials to her name. For our viewers who would like to know her full introduction, please do check out our first session with Yukta ji, that is the significance of nurturing Sanatan warriors today, SmJ 123. Yukta ji, it's always a pleasure and honor to have you with us. We are so eager to listen to you. So we dive deep down into our questions for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you both of us for inviting me back again. It's wonderful to reconvene. I think we're doing it almost after 1 year.
Yes, more than a year.
Last more than a year gap.
24 November, now 26 Jan.
Yeah.
But Satyameva Jayati's first session for 26 is with you. So that's a great beginning for us.
Oh, I'm blessed. Really, I'm honored as well. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. Looking forward to a wonderful session. Same like last time.
Yes,
and this time Vidya ji will start with the questions, and I'll intervene if I come up with anything. All right. Thank you.
Please.
Okay. Yeah. So let's dive in. Okay. So Yukta ji, our earlier session was connected with the significance of bringing up Sanatani warriors. So connected to that, our ancestors believed in raising such warriors with wholesome all-round development. Compared to that, how are our present generations of youth being brought up? And here we are looking at the importance of the mother's role, especially in connection with her dharma. So what is your take on this?
Vidya, before we begin our session, we'll invoke the graces of our gurus and the Rishi Parampara, because of which we are so indebted, grateful and honored to be part of such a rich tradition, such a great lineage, full of knowledge, wisdom and full of courage. So much of courage we get from our ancestors, and especially when we read our history and we understand the great resistances that we've given, but also the Vidya, the way it has been passed down, like we were saying, the oral tradition of Guru Shishya Parampara and our culture and our traditional practices have been so deeply embedded in our consciousness, in our DNA, that we are eternally grateful for that. So my pranams to all our ancestors. And just going back to how we had earlier shared in our previous session, which was based on this theme of raising Sanatani warriors, and how our ancestors used to, have a very, it's not just the word holistic, really. They had a very spiritual and dharmic view on how a child has to be nurtured, how a soul is incarnated, and how the upbringing of the child should be in the service of humanity. The purpose was always outlined towards going beyond ourselves. And today we are seeing our generations who are only thinking about themselves. Or at least they're being, if they don't want to think about themselves, I'm not saying all of them are. There's a lot of wonderful young people out there doing great work, whether it's for the environment, whether it's for maintaining our cultural traditional practices, whether it's conserving our scriptures and, maintaining our history and knowledge. But a majority of them I see have, how shall we put it mildly, without sounding very judgmental and critical, a majority of the young generation, to me, they seem very lost. And to me, they seem, not only do they not know the purpose of their life, but I find that they're so conditioned, almost we can say that they're brainwashed, not only just by the education system, but by the social media or the social conditioning, family pressures, environmental influences, that they're not able to have that viveka. They're not able to have that power to discriminate what is beneficial for me and what is pleasurable for me, which is what the Shastras are teaching. Our knowledge systems have always been based, and our ancestral wisdoms and our practice have always led us to feel connected with the whole cosmos. We are part of a very large environment of universal intelligence, as we say. We are not to think about ourselves as individuals or only about my selfish needs or my job and my house and my everything. So when the tree always, gives flowers and blossoms for everybody else, it doesn't discriminate and it doesn't say only that branch or only that fruit will get this much water. So when nature is teaching us and our ancestors have laid out those principles, it's only correct that we should follow those things which are for our own good, for our own highest benefit. And just coming back to when you mentioned mother's dharma, the first Gurukul starts in the mother's womb. The mother is the first teacher for the child. Whatever the mother is thinking, whatever the mother is feeling, whatever the mother is holding in her intention, is really the sacredness in the womb in which the child gets nurtured. In fact, in Garbha Sanskar, we say that this is happening even before the conception has happened. The soul of the child has chosen the mother's womb depending based on their prarabdha, based on their past life samskaras and the life journey that they have chosen to, the reason soul has chosen or taken birth on planet Earth. So our ancestors understood all these things because it is, as I said, it's already laid out in the scriptures. It's been part of our lifestyle and, the way that they lived in harmony with nature, in the rhythmic momentum of how the seasons are going, how their dincharya was also based on their everyday lifestyle, was based on these rhythms of the day. So what I want to really open out today during our session and discussion is how can we come back to these roots? How can we be anchored back into our authentic knowledge systems and into our life purpose? So our whole purpose, our whole intention, or our goal today is to, come back into how do we stay anchored in the truth of our dharma, and how do we know, or how are we able to stand up for ourselves? Whether it's young people, whether it's adults, whether it's parents who want to conceive children, whether it's parents who are yet to have a baby, on the way to have a baby, whatever it may be, it's so important to recognize the mother's role in this process. And it's so important to have a mother be supported through her entire journey. Today, what is happening, a lot of influence and pressure is coming on the mother through external influences which are disempowering her. either through the medical field, where she is being told by the doctors or being asked to do things in a certain way because that is what research tells them today, or it may even be for the benefit of pharma companies, as we already know. A lot of influences coming to the mother and the pressures are coming from society with regards to the choices that she needs to make with the education of the child. So before the child is born, they want to go and start taking admission in this school or this nursery or kindergarten, whatever it may be. Because then otherwise later on they'll not get admission, and no matter how expensive it is, no matter how damaging it may be for the child, those considerations are not given. And the other thing which is also disempowering women today, which, through the process of our conversation, I'd like to expand upon later, is the fact that women are under a lot of sort of, how do we say this? The right word is cognitive dissonance, where they themselves don't know what to believe in anymore with regards to their own bodies. So their own body image. And a huge influence and a huge part of this is coming from the fashion industry, advertising industry, media that is telling them how to dress up, how to behave, even films for that matter. This is, this is defining that this is the way that a woman is going to be called beautiful, or young girls want to know how many likes they're getting on Facebook, how many followers on Instagram. I mean, this whole aspect of their self-worth and self-image is very badly damaged today. And that is affecting how they're going to make their further choices about, marriage, children, childbirth, conceiving, rearing up children, and the education of children. So it's a complete cycle which has been very intentionally broken down by people who are not interested in the welfare of humanity, by people who only looking for their gains, materialistic gains, whether it's, medical people or whether it's the advertising industry, as we mentioned. And also a lot of it has been targeted by, I would say, from the external forces who are against Bharat. Because all this has been such a strong part of our civilization, where a mother is worshipped. This is a country where Devi Ma is worshipped in so many different forms, that for us to today say that there are so many atrocities happening on women, or young children or young women are going through the kind of problems they're going through, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical disorders, this is when we see slowly how the culture has been, family structures have been broken down. It's very clear. It's a very targeted and a very intended, how shall we say, damage that that they wanted to accomplish, and to a great extent they've succeeded. But we are Sanatani. We know how to fight back, and we have resilience in our blood and bones. So, we are not here to give up, and we are here to reclaim our power back. It's not something that somebody else has to hand over to us. So when people say women empowerment and we'll go and we'll do this for women, or we'll do this in charity, and women will get empowered, I'm nobody to give empowerment to someone. Women are already empowered. We just have to understand that the power lies within me, within my body, within my womb, and within my own thought processes and belief systems. So therefore, coming back to the importance of motherhood, family systems, and how well we can bring up our children with those values with which our ancestors have brought us to the point where we are, is very critical to us today at this point in history where we are standing.
Ravi, would you like to go ahead? Okay. So, Yukta ji, since we were talking about, we were talking before we get into the main topic of women's health. Just before that, I would like, it would be nice if you could just throw some light about how the present Macaulayan system of education, how that has corrupted the entire system, and in what way can we as Sanatanis, get back to our roots. So at the end of the day, this base, everything starts with this education. No? So how do we tackle that issue? Yeah, so please. Go
Yes,
ahead.
ma. Very important and a very powerful question, and very, in fact, I think that itself is a very whole subject of one
Subject
podcast of one entire. We can go on and on, because the level of damage that this education system has caused, it's not only is it overwhelming and unsurmountable in words, but it's just been going on for so long that we've actually forgotten to even recognize what our original roots were. It's conditioned us to such a level. It's not just one generation or two generations. We're talking about almost 300 years ago. Almost 300 years ago. 1835 is, I think, when he brought it into the parliament, Macaulay, in the British parliament, and that's how they started. I mean, well before that, they were already trying to convert us into Christianity, and well before that, they were already forcing us to let go of our practices when they were sort of trading with India. They were not trading with India. Their whole agenda was not to trade with India. But so yeah, just coming back to the damages where I felt as a mother when I went through my journey of initial journey of parenting, and realized that what is it that where is it that we are lacking, where we are feeling so disconnected from ourselves, we are feeling so unhappy in life. When in our scriptures it is written and it has been laid out by the saints, by the great masters, by the sages, by our gurus, by our, the great beings who've had experiences, great enlightenment, that Satchitanand is our birthright. So when Satchitanand is my birthright, and with all this fancy education, I'm still seeing people are unhappy or unsatisfied, to me as a mother, it brought a very big question mark. That where is it that we are failing? What is happening within? Something is wrong. And because we also came out of that same system, I felt that somewhere there was a feeling of lack, and there was always a feeling of not knowing what is my true history. There was always this question mark. They brought in this Aryan invasion theory, and then the Dravidian system and whatnot they brought in to try and literally to corrupt the system. So here's what I feel, Vidyama and Raviji, that the root cause of the problem is that, in our spirituality, in our Sanatan Dharma, the concept of a human being is always part of the larger consciousness. We belong to the universe. We come from a source, and we are going to go back and merge into that source. And this has always been the foundation of any form of knowledge system, whether it be Ayurveda, whether it be the Shastras, whether it be Vedanta, whether it be Advaita, whether it even be the Bhakti Marg, for that matter. So when we have an education system that is not talking about any form of spirituality and is only breaking down everything into very clinical segmentation, there is no interlinking or interconnectedness between subjects that are being taught in school, or where do we come from, how did this cosmos got created. There is no such foundational principles that are laid out in the education system. A child is naturally going to feel that he's come on earth for his own agenda and he is here to accomplish his goals, and that's the target. Give the exams, get on with the board exams, and move on in life. So that whole bhava of feeling that I come from a source, I have some past life karma which I'm going to live out, and I've chosen this family because I have a debt with the family, or these are my ancestors. That whole connectedness with our roots is the number one problem with this whole education system. Secondly, of course, it's in a language which doesn't belong to us. It's not natural to us, and we are forced to adopt this language. So the first thing that we would like to see as a change in the education system is coming back to our mother tongue. And by mother tongue, I also mean Sanskritam. It's not just local languages. They are definitely very important. If in one family a child is born with Malayalam mother and having a Tamil speaking father, then both become their mother tongue. It's not mother tongue and father tongue is separate. It's a tongue that is spoken inside the house and comes naturally to the child from the time they are born. So we are saying Sanskrit should be introduced very strongly back into the education system, into the main fold. Chanting mantras should become very important part of our daily habits and daily practices. Even in schools, not just family should enforce it, and it's a personal choice and it's a religious practice. There is nothing like it's a religious practice. Today, science is proving everything. Quantum physics is proving why Sanskrit is such an intelligent language, how it's affecting the, the neurological pathways of the brain, how it helps to bring stronger memory, how recitation of certain mantras and chandas is helping to regulate our breath even. It's almost like it's a pranayam is going on. So the list is endless. We can go into that separately. But main thing that I wanted to highlight was is that connectedness into our true history, which has also been suppressed to a great extent. We know that false things have been printed in the textbooks. We know that a lot of it is against Sanatan Dharma, and a lot of it is specially sort of inserted to create a misunderstanding about how Sanatan was practiced, which is not the truth. Whether it be sati practice, whether it be child marriage, all these are completely false and baseless. There is absolutely no proof of it. Even with regards to caste system or varna and jati, I mean, there's a whole long debate we can have on that. We should have been raised feeling proud of our varna and jati systems because they help to run the society and the economic structure in a certain way, in a manner. There's an intelligence behind it. It's almost like telling Mother Nature that please start functioning separately without rain, and when you need rain, you tell us, we'll send the rain. It doesn't work like that. There is a whole flow of biodiversity. There's a whole intelligence. There's a whole cycle of events that happens, and it's all interlinked. And how the plants will be eaten by the animals, and how the animals will be eaten by higher animals, and so on and so forth. So for us as humans and for us as Sanatanis to feel that we are part of such a great historical lineage where our ancestors have fought blood and sweat to give us where we are today, the life that we are leading today, must not be something that is absolutely not mentioned in our history textbooks. So that interconnectedness, language, and the other part which is very important is our respect for Mother Nature. So the Macaulay system has brought everything in science down to such a fragmented method of teaching, and such a, how can we say, what is the benefit out of this? It's almost like saying, how can I extract something out of this for my own selfish gain? It's not how science in the world actually moves. It's not how Ayurvedic holistic approach will be, where the whole body is looked at in a holistic way or in a complete form with the Atman, the Manas, and with the Buddhi intellect to the Annamaya Kosha, to the Prana Shakti body. So understanding that our ancient wisdoms, our scriptures and our Indic knowledge system has been much more advanced and higher than the Macaulay can ever attempt to be. The tragic part, Vidyama and Raviji, is that people are willing to pay such a high price for education today. It appalls and shocks me that tomorrow if somebody to ask them to donate that level of money to a gaushala or for the well-being of a village, that money is not leaving their bank account. But their children are getting brainwashed by somebody else on some third party deciding what is the curriculum system is acceptable to them. That itself to me is a complete loss of intelligence. There itself we are giving away our power. When we are saying the mother is the first Gurukula, and we are saying the home environment is what actually contributes to a child's intelligence, the field of epigenetics also today will say that the DNA comes into expression when the environmental factors are supportive of a child's growth, whether it be inside the womb of the mother or after delivery as well. The other thing which I want to link up with our previous question, which you had asked me about the mother as, the importance of Matrubha. what has happened is, because they have removed a child and put him into a schooling system, he's running behind some kind of a slavery. I'll get through this degree, then I'll do the next post-graduation degree, then I'll get a job. It's a never-ending cycle of them feeling that wherever they are is not enough. So many years are getting wasted, not only money and energy, but time of life, which was the prime youth of a child, is getting wasted, where they could have actually learned their family business or realized what is their own talents and skills and abilities that they are born with. But what is most tragic and painful is this removal of the child far away from the mother. This is where the whole system has come down to, and this is how it has gotten crashed. When a child is not, in a sense, we can say, not surrendered to the mother, children have to be so much in reverence for their mother that whatever the mother says should be law. Had that not been the case, we would have not had Maharana Pratap or Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So our ancestry and our history is already showing us the greatness of how, and the importance of, how much a mother's contribution is so critical to raising the mind of a young child and preparing him for, fighting ahead in life, whatever the circumstances. It doesn't have to be war. It doesn't have to be on the battlefield. Life itself can bring you so many challenges. But a mother's strength, the closeness to the mother, and the attachment to the mother is what will allow the child to feel, I can go out there in the world and conquer any situation. That's why we will always give the blessing of Vijay Bhava, Ayushman Bhava, Aishwaryaban Bhava. We will not say, oh, go and succeed in this exam and then you'll get the next, get into that college. That was not our thought process. A thought process of our ancestors was, how is this child going to contribute to society and how is he going to go ahead in his own spiritual growth as a matter or as a process of. So just coming back to the education system, we want all these things to change, which can only happen when parents wake up to making these conscious decisions. It can happen overnight in my vision of Bharat. If, parents decide to boycott the entire system and say, here we go back to our roots and come what may, my child is here to serve Mother Earth, Mother Nature and Bharat Mata. And we have enough intelligence. We don't need somebody else to tell us how to study subjects. We have enough intelligent people to even teach us mathematics and calculations. And Arthashastra was such an important part of running the society that we don't need to go to special school of economics and then understand how to run our business matters or to how to settle the expenses of the household. So just coming back to our, the whole attempt by the Macaulay system has been achieved very successfully. They wanted to break our family systems. They wanted us to feel disconnected with our culture. And they wanted us to feel small about ourselves. Their whole purpose was to raise servants and the class of slaves who will be obedient to them, to these British officers. And so they wanted a category of clerks and officers or whatever it is, who will obey them and not question them. Which is where my whole sort of really as a parent, as a mother, my anger is that why should I give up my inherent intelligence and follow a system that only wants to brainwash me to behave according to the way that they require, for the benefit of corporations or for the benefit of the medical pharmaceutical companies or for the benefit of their way of thinking, which is a very Western, whatever you want to call it, Marxist, communist, capitalist, all the terms which are applicable can be given. But it's surely not a humanitarian, it's surely not a spiritual, and it's definitely not rooted in dharma. So these were my issues as a mother when I chose, that we have to break away from the system. And The lockdown was a blessing in disguise, where because schools were shut, I requested my son and I said, shall we start focusing on Sanskrit? Because that's the only thing we can now continue to do on our own. So for us, that has become a process of unlearning and getting over the, even though he was not in a regular mainstream school system, he was in an alternative schooling where there was a lot of focus on arts and crafts and culture and play and everything. But yeah, this is where I feel that we parents have to take our power back and also start conserving the financial systems of the family. Protect the finances of the family instead of throwing it away for 15, 20 years. And then after that also your child is still waiting to, either be called, got a graduate, got a degree or not, and still look out for a job and still be begging for somebody else to give. So why are we seeking this approval and validation? Why do we want somebody else to tell me how good I am, and then based on that I will know my self-worth and have a level of self-acceptance? And the same thing, Vidya and Raviji, it applies to women also. When we were talking earlier that women have feeling, when women are disempowered, is because they are constantly being made to look outside. Right? So the whole process of this Western system, our whole problem with the Western system of anything, education, job, medical, is that the fix is coming from the outside. Whereas the Sanatani view is that everything is within me. Satchitanand is within me. My resources are within me. My intelligence is within me because I am part of the cosmos. And that same intelligence functions within me. So we turn our senses inwards. That is where our empowerment lies. That is where our self-acceptance lies. And when women also come to realize that, then that way the intelligence gets passed on to the child. That we are not looking for gratification. Sense gratification is not coming from the outside. And in fact, we have to become masters of ourselves. So therein lies our swadharma. My swadharma is to have become my own swami. My self-mastery over my senses, my intellect, my mind, that is what is most important. So if our education system can bring us back into those ways of thinking, then we'll have rishis and leaders ready to take on to the political scenario, economic scenario, international scenario, and even our local issues, whatever there are. This much has to happen. This much needs to happen. We are at a very critical juncture of our, generational growth, where if we don't do it within the next coming generation, we might just lose the time that is given to us.
Very true, Yukta ji. Beautifully explained. Ravi, go ahead. You wanted to ask. Yeah. Go ahead.
You had already mentioned that the youngsters are being, the mindset of the youngsters because of the social media, movies, and influence that it has over them. And in a way, if you look at it, back in the day, we were raised up by stories, Puranas and Itihasas and things like that. And those things actually were given us the mental exercise, so to say. If the weights actually gives us, lifting weights gives us muscles stronger, those kind of stories and everything made our mind stronger in the ways of, experiencing different, life experiences in sort of way. And Australia has banned the social media recently for people who are actually less than 16 years. And I don't know whether actually it will help the youngsters as well as the parents in, by controlling them, or whether we have to actually go back to the stories where the younger people will experience humility, respect, and things like that, where they can learn from. Your take on it?
Yes, Raviji, I completely agree with you. This whole, and as I was sharing earlier, that this whole withdrawal of the senses, this pratyahara, which we call it as a part of the Ashtanga, limbs, 8 limbs of yoga. When we say we are withdrawing our senses inwards, not only are we taking back all our energy and the prana, which is flowing on the outside direction, back to the source within me, I'm also then able to access the intelligence, which is what is required for me to be able to then lead a life of dharma, lead a life of self-mastery and discipline. So parents having to control their children, or rather enforce this at home, is a must. That is another thing which has also happened with this whole current cultural, how can we say, crisis that we have gone through. because of the trauma we went through, there have been a lot of invasions, and we for so many hundreds of years have only been surviving and fighting. We can say that there was a lot of phase where maybe we didn't have the time to access our wisdoms. Gurukulas were very intentionally destroyed by the British people, by the Portuguese, by the Dutch. All of them came. Of course, the Mughal rulers also have not done nothing to, sustain our Indic knowledge systems. But as you were saying, Raviji, that at that age, when at a young age, a child is given too many choices, they don't have the ability to make that decision. They are not capable at that age to decide what is good for them and what is not good for them. So just to come under peer pressure and hand over a smartphone or a gadget or a tablet to a young child is definitely one of the most damaging things that has happened to us in the last 25 odd years since the advent of the internet. People may say, oh, of course we need technology. How can we survive without it? World is moving in a very fast-paced direction. Communication has to be super at jet speed. Okay, all accepted. But that doesn't mean we take away the childhood from our younger generation who is yet to blossom and bloom into their own, beautiful journey of life. So yeah, one thing is that choices should not be given. Parents have to impose very strong boundaries with regards to social media and gadgets and everything. And that also allows the family to have their own time together. So then, there is an opportunity there when if, there is a lack of grandparents and their presence in the family, then at least parents can make the efforts now to start reading and learning what they may not have got the time to do before. So parents can make a special or go the extra mile and say, okay, I did not get time till now. I was also busy with, having to work and provide for the family. But now maybe this is a time there's a child in the family, and how should I contribute to the welfare of this child? How can I nourish the soul of this child? Is, as you said, through Itihasa, Puranas, the stories of the Upanishads, and that is exactly where our whole the way that we will get connected back to our ancestral roots, the way that we will have pride on our Itihasa, and that is the only way that courage will be reinstilled back into them. That willpower that we need to fight life circumstances or to face any difficulties, to be able to take decisions in the moments of crisis, how to think in that present moment when you're confronted with a lot of problems or even argument even. There was a Tarka Shastra, there was a whole way of how in our ancestors or according to the scriptures, even an argument has to be presented. We don't need to go to law school to learn that. I know we have the great likes of Sai Deepak and all. We admire him. And even Vishnu Shankar Jain. But having said that, they are doing what their ancestors have actually asked them to come and do. They have taken birth for this. This is their purpose of life, which is why, because they speak the truth, we are able to resonate with what they say. Having said that, just coming back to when we are rooted in our ancestral wisdoms, we will have the vision of how to proceed in life. We will be rooted in our, as I just mentioned, in our virtues of courage, bravery, valor, and resilience and fortitude. These are the values, these are the qualities that the younger generation needs. And this is exactly what the Macaulay system has broken it down into, or even the cultural influences, movies, advertising industry, fashion industry, completely taken away the willpower of a human being to decide for themselves, what is it that I need to do? So the outside world is telling me what I need to do, how I need to be, what is the definition of success. If I'm putting photographs on Facebook about my holiday and about my latest shopping spree, then I'm getting likes, and that is the definition of success. So our definitions of success and victory have become very misaltered and misconstrued is what we can say, which needs to change. High time that we have to change this, and this has to become really almost like a revolution. We don't have much time to now keep sitting in some la la land and fairyland and thinking that, oh, I'll just go and do my meditation practices and I'll be, that is my spirituality. It doesn't work like that. That is not how our ancestors wanted it. That is not how they, in fact, the meditation power should give us that much more mental strength to be able to go out there and, in the face of difficulty, speak our truth. Today, it's so important to even speak our truth. Hindus across the world are not even able to speak the truth. We have so much of fear and trauma embedded in our whole consciousness because of whatever we've gone through, that we are unable to even stand up and say what is right and what is wrong, which is so important. So where are we even using or engaging with the social media tool that is given to us? If it is a piece of technology, then I should be the master of that piece of technology. It should not rule me, where I'm just looking at the screen and my brain is going dull. In fact, scientific research is proving that children who are spending too much time on screens have not only gone lower on their IQ, they have not only lost their ability to think for themselves, because the neurological pathways got re-altered and re-imprinted. Even their breathing has become shallow. So even their physical health and physiological well-being of sitting in front of the screen is going to make their life in the future very difficult. Willpower is in the body. We need to move our body. And which is why when we were saying, all round, our ancestors gave us this all round holistic ways of bringing up children, sending them in nature, playing in the wild, being with forests, being with animals, even Indian martial arts for that matter, whether it's Kalaripayat, whether it's Silambam, whether it's Mardani Khel as we call it here in Maharashtra, such an integral part of. Now today science will say, okay, when you're moving the stick or you're moving the sword in such a way, it's going to help to cross the right and the left hemisphere of the brain. So important it is, then they'll use it as a therapy. It was already part of our culture. It's always a part. And so giving that in the hands of the child, Shastra and Shastra, both. Very important. Very important.
Beautiful, Yukta ji. Well explained. Vidya ji, go ahead.
Okay, so in connection, Yukta ji, in connection to what Ravi ji asked, we were talking about the issues that the present generation is facing. So let's focus on shatru bodha, the development of shatru bodha. I mean, how much of it is lacking? They seem to get entrapped so easily these days. So what is your opinion about this? Like, how can they tackle this problem? The lack of shatru bodha.
Yes, ma'am, very important. And as we were saying earlier, as we were sharing and discussing, that just going back into our own selves, the more that I am a self, the more I have accomplished self-mastery and I have the practices of self-discipline, my willpower is developed, my mental ability to discriminate is developed. I am able to understand what somebody is saying, if that even makes sense. Is that aligned with dharma? Till I don't know dharma, I will not know if what you're talking is in alignment with what the scriptures have prescribed. So when we are talking about shatru bodha, meaning what is not in alignment with dharma, who is going against dharma, whether it be, as we are saying, whether it be the pharmaceutical industry, whether it be the advertising and fashion industry, whether it be the education field, whether it be the social environments, and whether it be consumerism, never-ending consumerism today. But in order for me to develop shatru bodha, what do I need most is a feeling of security and safety with my parents. So I know that I can go and talk to them and I'm free to discuss any matter with them without being judged. Which can happen, as we were saying, Raviji, when the family structure system comes back into place, where the family on a daily basis is doing their spiritual practices, religious practices, engaging with stories, Purana, Itihasa, then there is that layout framework is given to them, that what is right and what is wrong, how it has already played out in, we are activating their inherent wisdom. So that would be the first and foremost external influence in terms of the family structure of supporting or encouraging the child to understand what is the shatru bodha. This, in effect, leads the child to trust himself. When there will be enough open communication within the family, and the child feels free and safe to come and talk about anything which has happened in the outside world within the family structure, they will have that inner ability to listen to their intuition and trust it. This is where shatru bodha will not only prevent them from making the wrong decisions in life, but in the face of any calamity, in the face of any pressure, they will not bend to somebody external trying to influence them or trying to control or manipulate them. Now, can we say that this is happening with social media? A lot of people say, no, children need to learn about technology and they have to be with the times, and how can we keep them away from screens, and their friends are having screens, and 19 to the dozen I hear from parents, all forms of excuses. And to me personally, it feels very lame. We grew up without technology. You and our generation, we had no phones, we had no nothing. And I feel we had such a great childhood. At that time, we may have felt, I want this, I want that. My parents are not fulfilling these needs. But now when we look back, we feel we were so free. Our minds were so at peace with who we were at that point in our journey of childhood. We didn't feel we had to rush to do the next thing. Yeah, everybody always feels, when I grow up, I'll do this. When will I grow up? All that is different. But I'm talking in terms of innocence being protected. I'm talking in terms of their own inherent qualities being nurtured, their skills being allowed some chance to blossom and bloom. Instead of so much time that is going on screen today, if a child was to even be nurtured with martial arts or with other artistic practices, whether it's drawing, painting, crafts, pottery, carpentry, blacksmithing, knitting, weaving, embroidery, kitchen, cooking, gardening, I mean, its list is endless, where their hands are engaged. Their mind and their hands are engaged. Their eyes are focused on the task that they're doing. That develops those cognitive skills which they need in life to make the right decisions, to have the right ability to think. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, that the dharmic framework has been given through storytelling and connecting with the great ancestral lineage that we are born with. That is primary foundation, and that is non-negotiable. So for me, if a child is already a little grown up and for whatever reason the parent could not introduce it, now would be still the time to bring those things into the fold of their education. It's never too late. It's never too late for us to think, oh, I regret, I wish I knew this earlier. Okay, abhi what we know, can we not do it from now, this moment onwards? So take back the present moment in your hand. It's all about us taking our power back. Whether it's women who have to take decisions about how they bring up a child, how they conceive a child, how they nurture a child, how they respect their own bodies. Women have to also understand that. So when we're coming into Shatru Bodha with the medical fraternity, I'm also bringing in this aspect, which is not directly linked with the question, but because if the mother is going to do that, then she will also teach that same kind of, how shall we say, a way of ferociously protecting your boundaries. If she does it, she can teach it to the child. She has to be an embodiment of it, because child is always imitating the mother. Child is going to do what the mother does. We can't tell the child, you do this, but I'll do differently. So if the mother is making a roti, child will also go and stand in the kitchen and say, give me my little small katori and I'll also start cooking. Same thing with the women who work on the fields, in the farms and everything. Children are supporting their mothers, whatever they're doing. So just coming back to mental willpower and resilience. that with Shatru Bodha, a woman, when she decides that the medical fraternity will not decide and tell her how she is going to conceive, bear the pregnancy of the child, and deliver the child, she has the choice to make, a home birth or a natural birth, even if she chooses to go to the hospital. Doesn't have to be a cesarean section. So fear is our greatest enemy. In this situation, I'm finding in my observation in life so far, that everything that is coming to us as an external influence is Ravana with all his 10 heads. When there is Ravana, there will be Hanuman, and when there is Ravana, there will be Vibhishan also. So for us, it is required to understand that here comes Ravana in this form. He is not wearing the 10 heads, but these are the faces of evil today in society. This is where we have to understand, where, like we were saying earlier, Viveka, discrimination, and how can a parent show that to the child by standing up for the truth, speaking for the truth, protecting our boundaries, not letting external people influence us, and saying this is our family's culture, this is the practices that we do, and this is what we are going to continue to follow. This is our value system. Now, when a child grows up observing these things very minutely in their parent, that is when they will also develop that inherent ability of Shatru Bodha. And no matter what influence they have around them, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's watching, inappropriate things on screen, or whether it's even engaging with the wrong groups in the future, making decisions, gambling, anything it could be, any other illegal activities, they will know that I'm moving away from my path of dharma. This is not taking me closer to my enlightenment. This is not keeping in respect and regard with my family values and traditions. So that voice has to come from within very strongly. Those choices have to be made. The graph of life will move in that direction. One wrong decision we take, the whole trajectory changes. We know that. But how do we empower the child to have that ability to choose, have the viveka, and in that moment have the ability to express his truth? Comes back to family systems. And as we were saying earlier, for them to be able to trust that inner voice and intuition, they need to be able to sit in silence. So disconnecting from all these external sensory gratifications, intensely, constantly following that, oh, this is what my child desires and therefore I have to provide this for my child. For parents to also hold back and say, let the child struggle, let the child have a little bit of an effort making to getting what they want. We can't just keep giving them everything that he's throwing a tantrum, so immediately I'll just give him that ice cream, give him this thing. Tomorrow, buy a car for him. Third day, get him into that college or this. We are not here to provide solutions to the children. We are here to get their willpower to be so strong that they can come up with their own solutions out of the box thinking. They have to create their own pathways in life. And that can only happen when we don't follow the Western model of education or this whole modern way of living and lifestyle of constantly running behind something. We have to pause, we have to sit in silence, we have to have the ability of practicing maunam.
Very true, Yuktaji. So beautifully explained. Actually, when we are talking about this one aspect where the parents, they don't mollycoddle the children. That is great if they have that idea. But I mean, we didn't discuss this earlier. I have also seen parents who are also following another Western line of I do parenting where they allow the child to cry, cry, cry. I'm talking about little babies when they are growing up. So, instead of at the time when they are supposed to be there, they're supposed to be nurturing, they have this tendency like, no, we were told that the child has to be in another room. I mean, how do you have the heart to put a child, which needs, all your support and care? So that is like the other extreme of parenting, which I think many of the present generation youth, especially those who are outside, they're following that. So for them to come back to understand what is the real form of parenting, that also needs to be, a form of guidance. What is your take on that? I'm sorry, Yukta ji, we didn't discuss this, but it
No, it's absolutely fine. Please don't apologize, Vidya. It's a beautiful question. And in fact, that's what I firmly have come to understand for myself also in my own journey as a mother. I was also told a lot, don't protect the child, leave him, let him be, let them grow like this, let them do this way and that way. Somehow, Vidya, it didn't resonate with me. And I kept thinking, but should I let the child put his hand into fire and let himself to be burnt? At what point should I, which is the age that I will say, okay, now the child can decide. But after the child has hurt themselves and the parent was right there, what is the message that we are giving to their psychology? It just, to me, it doesn't fit at all. It is, again, as I said, Vidya, this is targeted way of breaking the mother and the child bond. So when I came to realize that my truth is different, I am shutting out this voice from the outside. I said, I am going to be the lioness who protects her cubs, come what may. In our culture, our devis are holding all swords and weapons in their hands. Please, nobody tell me that we should not be protecting our children. Till my child is ready to fly high, I will be here to protect him. This is my job. This is my matru dharma. And if I fail in this dharma, then tomorrow I will be regretting it because the time will be gone. So today, in fact, I think we mentioned about this very briefly in our previous sharing when we were interacting, that today in science, they call it secure attachment theory. So they call it secure attachment theory because they've done research on it. Now, Western world is all about research. We want documented facts. We don't want to trust our intuition. We don't want to care for the Eastern ancient systems that were already rooted in wisdom. We want to keep proving everything because it's funded, and then, it has to be proved because so many papers were written in Harvard or Yale or some very fancy university. But mother knows, no? Mother knows, her instinct knows what the child needs. Before the child cries also, we know the child is hungry. Now I have to feed. This is the child's time to be giving breast milk. So now they found out that children who are, rather babies, newborn infants, who are allowed to latch on to their mother's breast right after they're getting birth, they are not taken away. Placental and umbilical cord is not cut off immediately. They not only get the right prana shakti, as we say, the right amount of blood and that immunity building blood still continuing to flow from the placenta, from the uterus to the child through the umbilical cord. The child has already heard mother's voice and mother's skin and mother's everything. The child already knows all this. So it's become very important, even in the prenatal field of education, that now they're saying that do not remove the child from the mother's breast. Let the child crawl up to the mother's breast and latch on to the mother's breast right after birth. This ensures that the child feels safe and secure. And a child who feels, or a baby who feels safe and secure, will not become a child of anxiety. Now today they'll say all ADD, ADHD, autism, dyslexia. From where all this has come? These were not the terms our ancestors had. Even if there were issues on a mental, emotional, or a psychological level earlier, with any child, they knew how to, tackle it or to incorporate that child's needs. So when the child's needs are met, the secure attachment theory is when the child's needs are met, when the parent is fully available with their full, complete attention on the child, then the child doesn't need to act out, have a tantrum, be anxious, feel insecure. And again, this finally leads for them to be raised up as confident, authentic, intelligent, truthful people, leaders of society who are there to stand up for dharma, because they have been given the love by the mother. When they needed it, mother is fully present. That is her number one dharma. There is no compromising on that. And so that brings me to, make a very radical statement. People will say, how she can say all this? She went and did all her work and career. And I say women should only feel proud of motherhood as their journey. It's okay today we are educated. It's okay today we can afford to go and work. But that doesn't mean we have to leave our families and go and work. So when we've given birth to a child, it is our complete responsibility to take full ownership of that child's upbringing. Whatever the world has to say, whatever society has to say, oh, you should get back to work, you should have a career, why you've studied, you're so educated, don't give up your talents, don't sit at home, nobody's going to value you. All this is self-defeatist thinking. This is putting us into victim mode. This is disempowering us. So it's critical for women today when we say why young women today are not wanting to have babies. Why a lot of middle-aged women are not wanting to get married. This is a crisis in society. Where is the matrutva bhava? She is born to nurture. She is born to create. We have taken birth. This is our prarabdha to be in a female body. This is our Stri Dharma, to give birth, to create, to nurture, to nourish, so that life continues. We sustain life. And this is our, as I said, it's our first dharma, is to be with the child completely. In fact, when I realized that I'm going to be a mother, I had made a very conscious decision that I'm not going to be in front of my child in a way that shows any form of being a public figure or a celebrity, because for my child, I'm his mother. And so for him, I made a very, very conscious decision to keep him away from the media, for myself not to be busy, no late nights, no partying. Anyways, I would not have done it previously also. But now it was much more a definite boundary. So if anybody says, can we do this, can we do that? And even if I could have done it, I'll say, no, but I'm choosing to be with my child. So the deeper the roots of a tree grow, the stronger its branches will be, and the more better it will blossom and bloom to give fruits and flowers and shade to the world. And that is the job of a mother. That when she is there for the child to nurture every aspect of him or her, then those children grow up to be very confident young adults. They are very secure in their skin. They know who they are. They know what they stand for, what their values are, what their thought processes is. Everything is in place. They can't be misled or confused by anybody, in the name of trying to influence a young mind or a vulnerable mind. And that is where I want to come back to Vidya Ma, that when we put the Shastra and the Shastra in the hands of a young girl, when I give her the wisdom to learn what is in the scriptures, and when I give her the weapon also to fight and defend for herself, she will not feel weak. She will not be left thinking, somebody's going to come and attack me. I can't fight or defend my physical body. Women were given those things in the ancient times. Our mothers, grandmothers knew how to take a sword, or they always carried a little dagger inside their saris. So therein lies, when we say, how is feminism being promoted today? It is targeting women to actually become like men. It is not asking us to become more feminine. That is the disconnect with our bodies. That is the disempowerment, which I was mentioning earlier also. That trying to be a male or trying to behave like a male, dress up like a male, work like a male, biologically, that is not how we are designed. We have a monthly rhythm. We bleed every month. We need to rest every month. We need to understand how the energy is flowing for the middle of the month, towards the end of the month. Am I bleeding towards Amavasya? Am I bleeding towards Purnima? Following the rhythms of nature, so important. What should I eat? What I should not eat? How in my kitchen cabinet is the entire medicine closet is available. Same thing she'll apply for the child. She won't go running to a doctor and say, please give me the next antibiotic. So the other thing which the pharma mafia has also done for mothers is to continuously give vaccines to children. Vaccines are not only damaging to the child's health, but to the child's mind also. We are not just reducing the immunity of the physical body, because I have only seen children who have taken vaccines to constantly be sick. And I've also seen that their gut system goes through so much of damage, then that directly affects their thinking ability. Now, today, research again from the Western world will say it's called gut-brain syndrome. So now they're linking up what Ayurveda has laid out thousands and thousands of years ago, that what you're eating is directly how your mind will think. Or how and what time you eat food, the way it's prepared is exactly how your consciousness of your mind will take shape. Which is why there was so much of focus on eating discipline. Growing healthy food, taking it straight from the farmer. What is the harvesting season? Our festivals are also celebrated according to that. This is another thing which Macaulay education system will never be able to give us, is to be able to live in rhythm with that Panchanga, our Vedic Panchanga. When we read the Panchang, we know where the moon is, where the sun is, which is the tithi of the month. We know which is a nakshatra. The whole thing itself is a, in one of the temples in Tamil Nadu I visited, there's a whole celebration before they read the Panchanga for that day. I think it's a Srirangam temple, if I'm not mistaken. They'll have the proper drum beats, an elephant will come out, there'll be a procession. It's an event of the day. Declaration to the gods. Here we are sitting, this is the Jambu Dvipa, this is the Bharat Kshetra, this is the Tithi, this is the month, this is the Yuga we are in. So we have to constantly be in that rhythm of time and space. We don't have to be breathing so fast that we don't know where our thoughts are going. And I'm just telling you, we have to keep coming back to our ancient wisdoms and our ways of, our education method also, the Guru Shishya Parampara, that Seva Bhav, the Shishya is in the Guru's Gurukulam. It's not about money. It's about this learning through Seva, giving yourself selflessly, being in harmony with animals, serving Gau Mata, taking care of the farm, doing so many things with hand. That was the skill development. That was the building of character. Rising up in the morning at a certain time, sleeping in a certain time, maintaining the discipline of how you're speaking, being humble at the Guru's feet. This is our culture. This is our Sanatana. This is the beauty of our parampara, of our lineage. And we just have to take it back. We don't have to look to anybody else. We are so rich in our tradition. It's already given to us. So just to answer your question again about secure attachment theory, that the Matrutva Bodha and the Matru Shakti has to be honored in society. Women have to be celebrated for giving birth to a child, leaving their work and giving birth to a child, and staying with that commitment, honoring that journey completely. It's a sacred, sacred bond. And I say it once more with absolute humility and reverence. Had that not been the case, we would not be sitting here today. Because that was the case. We had great mothers who raised great warriors like Maharana Pratap and Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and so many others. Our history is full of such great beings that we only have even Rishikas and Yoginis in our culture have been honored for their wisdom. We cannot say women were not educated or they were not allowed to read the Vedas. All this is big humbug nonsense. So again, just winding it up to secure attachment theory and how feminism is being pushed down our throats today is not how women are supposed to live, breathe, and exist. We are supposed to be the primary foundational pillar of society. That is what women have to realize. Women, young women especially, have to really, really, really come into valuing this, appreciating this, and becoming very sensitive to all these aspects of our lifestyle choices that they're making today. Even the kind of clothes we are wearing. So important. Just to go back to draping a saree, there's so much grace in it. There's so much of beauty in everything that we've done. Putting a rangoli outside, kolam outside our main door. Such beautiful traditions are given. There itself lies that sacred geometry and that eye-hand coordination. Child will learn those things. Before he learns to read and write, he's already practiced that kolam with his amma. He already has a sense of space and time understanding, where this boundary is, where this line is, where these dots are ending. So, I mean, just I think there's a whole new world waiting for us to be rediscovering ourselves.
Beautiful, Yukta ji. Ravi, would you like to go ahead or shall I? Okay. So, in connection to what you were telling about the Matrabhav, Yukta ji, the spiritual blueprint of the mother eventually affects that of the child. You just mentioned about how, the child being, and then how, whatever she does, how it impacts. So, a little more deeper, and how powerful is the mother's role, and also how is it the father's lineage comes to be.
Right. So in Garbha Samskar, Vidya ma, I'm sure that you would have also as a mother experienced it. Somewhere we feel the child, we have conceived a child, but that is never the truth. The truth is that the baby or the soul of any child, even you and me as a soul, we have chosen our family so many generations before. So when we choose our family, we've chosen our father also, we've chosen our mother also. And that is the father's lineage, as we are saying, the Gotra, as we call it, the Gotra, which is your Gotra. Through the father's lineage, we come to know what are those ancestral dharmic gifts that we are bringing. To what is my offering to society? Which way shall I be giving service when I grow up? And what are those strengths which I can nurture? Because even if we look at from the point of view, from the lens of Jyotisha, Pita, or the father, is a form of Surya. And Surya is the Karaka, Surya as a planet, Surya Devta, is the Karaka of the Atma Bala, of our soul. So our thinking and our life purpose and our dharma is very, very much interlinked with our father's lineage, what is coming from the father. But now, having said that, what is a woman's role? How is her spiritual blueprint imprinting onto the child? So, a woman is the fertile soil in which the seed is going to be planted and nurtured. How well she has prepared herself for this role, how much she takes ownership of her body, how much she respects this body as a temple of God, what she eats, how she sits, how she moves, how she nurtures herself, what are her boundaries, how she carries herself with that dignity and grace is a reflection of her inner values and qualities, her belief systems. And so it's very important for young women to realize that their life's journey and their life's choices have to be made in accordance with that. Eventually, my role is to create a child, birth a child, nurture a child. And why one child? So many children we should have. In Sanatana, we want to give more sons and daughters to this soil to serve Bharat Mata. So just coming back to what you asked, Vidyama, that this forms the mother's spiritual blueprint in terms of how much she has been able to transform her inner self. Whatever issues she may have had as a child, as a teenager, even as an adult, not only with her parents or with herself, with her environment, but very important for her to realize that she is the master of her destiny. And the reason that she has to also take this sort of as a very important part of her sadhana, of her own growth process, is because she's going to give birth to a child. And all her feelings, all her thoughts, all her imprints will go straight into the womb. That's the environment of the child. Now, when we say, why has the child chosen this mother and father? When we understand it from the perspective of the Garud Purana, the Garud Purana tells us that whatever life we've led, and when we drop this physical body, this sthula sharira is dropped, then in the sukshma sharira, those samskaras and those imprints of this lifetime are going to be carried forward to the next lifetime. That is what we call it as our prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, all those things are there. Having said that, the child's requirement to complete his prarabdha or in order to fulfill his dharma, must match with the mother's, because till there is no match of the imprints, the blueprint as we are saying, the child can't come into that physical body. So for the mother, in order to be able to welcome the soul of the child, to in fact even speak to the soul of the child well before she is even conceived the child, is such an integral part of Garbha Sanskar and Garbhopanishad, that when women begin to realize that, we will also see how our ancient practices or how our traditions in our culture were all sort of centered around these things. And that is the reason that women were told to sort of, can't say segregate, but just sort of isolate for those few days when they're menstruating, because they're going through such a powerful process. They need to be with themselves. Their bodies need rest. It's also a time where they're getting a lot of spiritual downloads. So if we can be in silence at that time, we'll get a lot of inner sort of wisdoms or insights into what is it that I need to do. So just to complete what we were talking about in terms of spiritual blueprint of the mother's energy body, which is her prana sharira, her manas sharira, her thinking, her thoughts, and also her seva bhav. So her bhakti or her love for God and her feeling of connection with the divine or her feeling of worship. A child only learns what is worship when the mother is lighting that lamp in the house, or she's cleaning the temple, she's offering flowers and kumkum and doing archana to devta in the house. So this is where I feel that her reverence for the divine, that feeling that not only is she a living embodiment of the Devi, not only has she taken form, but she has been given a very sacred duty to welcome a soul in her body, nurture it, nourish it, and move gently through the process of delivering the baby to the world. This requires great level of self-control, self-mastery, and self-love and self-acceptance. Considering that we are talking about all these external influences today, where medical fraternities influencing them, advertising industries telling them, and the kind of content that is also coming through all these OTTs, where women are being told this is how it is to be okay with having extramarital affairs and whatnot, is just absolutely horrendous. When we are taking in, it's not just a male seed that we're taking in our body, we're taking in the entire consciousness, we're taking in the entire lineage. We're taking in the entire karma of our husband's side, father of the child. So very critical for a mother to also be very discriminatory. Who is she engaging with? Again, young girls today having multiple relationships. It's okay to have boyfriends. It's okay to have late night, one night stands. No, it's not okay. This is not our culture. My body is a sacred temple of God, and my body is not a playfield. I will choose who comes near my physical body or my mental and emotional field. So our ancestors knew this very well. And when women were, also dressed up appropriately, it was for the same purpose. I do want to mention at this point how beautifully Sinu Joseph points it out in her books, and what a fantastic level of research that has gone into bringing how, I don't know if anybody is aware of it in our audience, but she's written these two beautiful books called Stree Dharma Paddhati, which is a compilation of what the queens used to practice earlier. Must for all the young girls today. I mean, I would say it's like you're next to your Gita. It's redefining why we should do certain practices, how we should do those, what is the way a woman has to practice her spirituality, her bhakti, in the way she dresses. And everything she's proved it scientifically, from the Ayurvedic lens, from the lens of quantum physics, from the lens of spirituality, how it works physically on our bodies. When we wear a saree in the style of a dhoti, how it's protecting our apana vayu. So many levels are there, so many things are there to understand that, and has to go deeper into it and have respect for this wisdom. Have respect for your own body. So again, just going back to what you're saying, Ma, self-respect and self-acceptance can only come in a woman's body when she is able to trust her inner voice. She's able to shut out all this outside noise, which is really just corrupting our whole culture. Very difficult in today's young generation. If they have to make this, they'll have to stand up. They'll have to stand up for their bodies. It's a war on women's bodies. It's not only just an open war on women's bodies and psychologies, but it's an open war on our family structures and systems, because a woman is holding all the wisdom in her body, and her field, her soil is where the further generations will be nurtured. So as we've been saying, Ayurveda has laid out those dincharyas. There is rituchara on how we should practice during our menstrual cycles. There is the reason why we shouldn't be going to temples. We already know that Sabrimala case has happened, where finally, the victory was onto the side of the tradition and the dharmic practices, which were already part of our lineage. You can't just come around and bring in that level of feminism and just think that with a bat and a ball, it will be bashing up the whole narrative. So as I was saying, so extremely important for young girls today to know what are those things that they have to start saying no to. That will be their shatru bodha. This is an assault on my mental, physical well-being, and I will not do this. Whether it starts from wearing clothes, whether it starts from, the kind of food that they eat, whether it goes to the practices that they should be doing at home, traditional practices of worshipping and taking care of their bodies, cooking, and of course the practices of worship and bhakti and spirituality is really going to bring us back into our empowerment, because that's where we will feel that I am in the body of a Devi. I'm a Devi. That is important for them to feel, not to feel like they are some objects of accomplishment, or some objectification has to happen, that this is her, her identity is restricted only to the way that she thinks or she eats or she dresses up. No, we are much more beyond all of those things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Beautifully explained. And actually, Yukta ji, there were two, three questions. I think you have answered, given us answers for all that. I have been meaning to ask you about Sinu Joseph ji, and then also about, about Ritucharya. You've given the answer for both of that, actually. So,
no, must read, Vidyama. In fact, I would like for you all to put the link for the books at the description box so that everybody finds it easy to know which are the books we are mentioning about, and that they are available on Amazon. Must read Ritucharya, Varna Jati, Sabrimala, Why Women Should Not Enter Temples, and definitely Sri Dharma Paddhati.
Right. Definitely. That will be definitely added, Yukta ji. No two ways about that. Now, just for a separate this thing, like you were mentioning about how the pharma, the media, and the advertising, how they have been, what do I say? They have been manipulating women, and again, there's a lot of vested interests from the West. So if you can just put that in a nutshell, that as specifically focusing on all those points, that would be very, very important, especially for the women. And then I would like to move on to Garbha Sanskar after that.
Yes, ma'am. So as we were saying earlier, that the whole target has been on women and family structures. The only way that the pharma or the medical mafia, as I'd like to call it, will be able to disconnect women from their bodies or disempower us is to continuously tell us what to do. What you're doing is wrong. This is an old ancient practice. This is not hygienic. This is not like that. This is not like that. When we continuously allow those influences to come into our field, we've given our power away. Now, one may say, then what should we do? Whom should we listen to? How do I know what to do is correct? Come back to the scriptures. Come back to our ancient practices. What did your grandmother do? Ask your mother. If you are already married, ask your mother-in-law. What did their family do? How are those traditions practiced in their side of the family? Go and worship your Kula Devi. So important to stay connected with the Kula Devi. because she is the one, or Kul Devta for that matter. They are the ones, they are the deities who are protecting your family, who are nurturing your lineage to move forward. So first thing is that we ourselves have to come into a decision within ourselves. Our sankalpa has to become strong. When I take a sankalpa that I am no longer going to listen to anyone but my own body, that itself is immediately shifting the whole consciousness. That itself will change history. And that itself will bring back dharma into that family, where maybe the dharmic practices have been forgotten or not being able to do. People have moved to other countries, they're busy with their work and careers, unable to follow certain things for whatever reason. They don't have family support system. They have to leave the child with the daycare. 20 different issues are, surrounding or in the face of women. So as I said, we have to make a sankalpa. I'm not going to listen to anybody except my own body. I'm going to trust the wisdoms that have been passed down to me from my generation of my mother's side, maternal side, and from my husband's family side. So we have to ask those questions. What were the foods that were cooked? Which are those recipes which were nurturing to the body, nourishing to the soul? And of course, health giving for the children also, because a lot of the food that we are giving to our children is damaging their health. A lot of even in fact, things like pharma companies and food companies have introduced baby food. Why should a mother have to discontinue giving breast milk and opt for baby food? Why is she being told that beyond mother's milk, there's something else very special in that baby food or in that formula that has to be given? And then the child will fall sick. And then the child will be rushed to the doctor. And then the doctor will give this round of antibiotics or vaccination. So it's a complete trap that we are put into. And mothers are not only getting distressed, not only they are disempowered because they're not able to sorry, Vidya, 1 second. Let me just understand that. Not only are they distressed with this whole system, but they're not able to then give those healthy practices to the child. The child will also come up thinking that, oh, I need a doctor. I always need to go to ask somebody else what is it that I need to do for being healthy, or how do I decide what is good for me? So here comes our, a very crucial aspect of women's health and children's education and children's health also, is for us to be able to connect back not only just with Ayurveda as a wisdom, but also with the farmers. What is being grown locally? What is being grown seasonally? What are the things that are available to me? How can I support these farmers so that they also don't have to, struggle for their livelihood? If we stand with them and if we understand what's happening, then of course the farmers, as we know, will not be committing suicide, and they will not be doing those kind of things which they are also falling prey to. They are also coming under pressure with government policies or whatever, and they're unable to maintain those natural farming practices which we really want them to do. So when mothers decide what is it that my family is eating, and there also again shatru bodha, why this food is being introduced to me, why these medicines are being given to me, or why this certain list of vitamins and supplements is being given to me. Can't my body make all this energy, and can't I create and produce all these things? If I've given birth to a child and I've nurtured everything of the child when the child was in my womb, surely a child's body can make all those things on their own. So trusting nature and understanding that our body has the ability to fight, our body has the, resilience and the immune system to go through cold, cough, fever, whatever it may be, preparing some home decoctions, kadha and kashayams we call them. It's entirely in our hands to be able to do that. We don't have to say, oh, doctor said, so I have to give, doctor's given this prescription, doctor said all these vaccinations must be done. If we don't do the vaccination, then we won't get admission in the school system. So parents are constantly falling under this whole trap. But there is a way. we can choose to say no. This is our shatru bodha. And we can stand up against the system and say, I will not succumb to these pressures. It's entirely in the hands of the mother and the father. Father equally, he has to support the mother, he has to stand by the mother, he may not agree with her, but he has to trust that because she has had the intuition of knowing what the child needs when the baby needs it, first preference, or how we say, benefit of doubt must be always given. Must not bring in family pressures and create a conflict on matters where parenting is concerned, which is for the welfare of the child. So again, coming back to dharma, again coming back to, as we are saying, shatru bodha, how do I know what is good for me and what is not good for my child? Is to learning to trust my inner voice. And for that purpose, we have to really just respect our bodies. Which is why I'm coming back to the work of Sinu Joseph. When women learn to honor their bodies with the menstrual cycle, when women learn to honor their bodies by dressing up correctly, when women learn that these are the practices that I must do on a daily basis, whatever it may be, that are outlined, that our grandmothers have always done, we will feel safe and secure in our bodies, and we will not succumb to fear where, as we are saying, the pharmaceutical industry or the medical mafia or the media trying to influence us through advertising and fashion, businesses will not let me fall prey to those things. And I will know that I have to stay rooted in my culture. I have to stay anchored in my traditional practices. And because when we start talking about this more, Vidya Ma, it becomes like a narrative that then starts picking up momentum. If it's just some one woman saying anything and nobody's listening, it has to become a sisterhood. We all have to stand up and fight for each other. If it's a war on my sister, I will stand up and protect and fight for her. Whether she likes it, whether she agrees with me, at that moment, I'm going to speak the truth and tell her, this is not good for you. You please check in with your family systems, what was practiced in your family, and what are the traditional things that you all used to do. And please don't listen to these doctors who are constantly telling us what to do, when to do, how to do. This will change the game. This will shift the whole trajectory. And this will allow for our voices to rise up stronger than what has been happening with the Western, systems trying to come on as an assault on our mental, physical well-beings and our emotional well-beings. Even calling something like PMS, for example, I'm just saying, Vidya Ma, when we go through our menstrual cycle, there is going to be a change in the flow of energy. If I can just slow down and know that I'm in my premenstrual week and not do so much work trying to be a man, trying to fit in, trying to be masculine and trying to accomplish everything, I'll not go through that hormonal disturbance and I'll not have to be labeled as she's going through premenstrual symptoms. There is nothing like premenstrual symptoms. It is just a fabrication of some fancy Western doctor who wanted to start selling you pills or just trying to tell you something is wrong with you. The bottom line is they want to make you feel wrong about yourself. So that we go into self-doubt and we say, oh, okay, then you only tell me what I should do. Finish. That is where the game is won. So the more I say that, no, now is the time for me to rest. Now is the time for me to menstruate and bleed. Now is the time for me to fully pause and be in silence. It's okay if I'm not required to have a bath for 3 to 4 days. I'm not supposed to disturb the apana vayu. Let the menstrual cycle and let the menstrual bleeding complete its process. It's ordained by nature. We don't have to fight nature. We don't have to start behaving like we are greater than God. So when we start, as I said, when we start giving reverence and respect to our body and we start nurturing those rhythms, rituchara, dincharya as per Ayurveda, eating at a certain time of the day, sleeping at a certain time of the day, everything can very easily fall into place. And we don't have to stand up there with a placard in my hand saying we are fighting for feminism. That's not feminism. Just being my goddess self is enough. Yeah.
That was so beautifully explained, as always, Yuktaji. Actually, there are two things that I wanted to ask you. One is, of course, we are coming to the Garb Samskar and also that, the practice of Pumsavana. So, along with that, there is another question which is, which started ringing in my mind when you were talking about, especially young women, we're talking about when they go in for multiple relationships. This is something which we need to make them understand about the Rinanubandha that happens when, they establish so many physical contacts. So, whichever you would prefer to speak on first, please go ahead. I would really love to listen.
We'll go into it together because they are interlinked, and one is leading to the other. The way that a young girl will respect and honor her body through the menstrual cycle, as we were just sharing, and also she needs to be supported by her family. She needs to be equally protected by the women members and the male members of the family, not because she's impure or something is wrong with her, because it's a process that needs to be respected and just left to let it happen on its own. So here is what is very important is for young girls to not only feel like how in the south they have a whole Pumsavanam is a samskara, one of the 16 samskaras which is done during pregnancy. It's a whole traditional practice of how pregnant mother is blessed and everything. But there is also the ceremony in the south which they don't do in the north. In fact, I was not aware of it at all when I was growing up. I have just become, knowledgeable about these things very lately. When I was a teenager, nothing was discussed about when you're going to get your periods, how wonderful and how beautiful it is. But in the south, they have a whole brilliant tradition of having a festival celebration around it. The whole village, all relatives, everything, whole Samaj is called, entire community is present to actually just celebrate that she's, come into her most fertile years. She's young, she's become a woman, she's no longer a young girl. She'll now be able to give birth. So it's almost like saying she's of marriageable age. Any suitors, please come forward. So I'm saying that has such a beautiful psychological, not only just an impact, but just really a whole psychological impression on a young girl. She's not feeling ashamed of her body. She's not feeling that she needs to hide something when she's bleeding. That is where society plays a huge role. That is where the community and the culture of the traditions of our culture come into play a very, very massive, important role, that she now starts feeling proud and she starts coming into her own womanhood. And she starts feeling that now I have to protect my body, and now I'm much more responsible for that. Maturity comes in a young girl becoming into a woman. So this is where, when we say, just from this point onwards, we can say that Garbha Sanskar has started. Because she's protecting her womb, she's in rhythm with the cycles of her emotional up and down. She may understand that, okay, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling lonely, or I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling that. She can come to her mother, express it. Her mother will, take her into her fold, and she'll not go running to the doctor. Our grandmothers go running to doctors and say, oh, she's feeling like this now, what to do? They understood what a woman is going through. So this circle of motherhood and this circle of sisterhood needs to become much more stronger. We have to stop competing with each other. We have to come into standing up and being there for each other. This is a very important and integral part of how we will be able to combat this Western influence coming into our systems or trying to break our culture. And which till now they've very successfully done. They've disembodied women. But as I said, we are Stri Shakti. We have Devi with us on our side, and we have all her astras and shastras also. So we don't sit in fear, we fight back. And we have all the tools also, and all the intelligence and everything given to us. We just have to do it. And in order for us to do it, we have to come together. Togetherness, community and bonding is an equally important part of shatru bodha. Because shatru can only attack when we are feeling vulnerable, when we think we are alone. When we feel isolated, we come into fear. But if I'm together, the shatru cannot attack me. In any form, the shatru may come, but they can't succeed. So very important part of Garbha Sanskar, leading up to Garbha Sanskar rather, in a woman's journey, is this celebration of puberty, of her coming into puberty. And then also, I personally have come to feel for women not to delay getting married. This is what has been my observation. I am not here to pass a judgment on anybody. I am not here to tell people how to make their personal choices, but kindly consider why women were married at a young age by, at the times of our ancestors. Primarily because she was into her most young, fertile years. So important that she should be able to conceive a child when her body is physically healthy, not when she is aging and worrying and about almost getting into premenopause or perimenopause. That should not be the concern. We should have a journey of motherhood filled with enthusiasm and joy. We are playing with our children. We're enjoying our children's growth process. We're not feeling drained and tired and I have to drop them to this school and pick them up and put them in this class and I need a maid and I need babysitters. Motherhood is absolute delight. It should be something where we feel privileged. This child has chosen me, whatever may be the challenges, whatever may be the difficulties. This is part of my path of my ascension, because through motherhood, we get initiated into becoming completely selfless. We stop thinking about ourselves. Isn't that matritva bodh? Isn't that the bhav that we feel that mother is always there, selflessly caring, nurturing, yet she is fiercely protective, yet she knows what boundaries are to be given, and she's full of wisdom. She intuitively knows what I need. She intuitively knows what I have to do right now. She's able to guide me. So that feeling, as we were earlier also saying, that secure attachment theory, that whole bonding with the mother, that feeling that she's my guru, she's always here to guide me. She's always here to show me the path which I'm not able to understand and see. She's able to understand what are my qualities and gifts which I'm not able to express till now. So that is the soil. That is the mother's, like Mother Earth. You put a seed and it blossoms and flowers and, petals come out and leaves come out and all the beautiful forms of creation we are able to understand, which only the mother can understand and know about the child. So again, just coming back to Garbha Sanskar, when a woman is able to honor herself and respect her body, go with the cycles of nature, she is keeping her boundaries strong. So her influences of external, outside sort of evil forces, as we may say, or those who have selfish interest cannot get successful. And then she goes into a proper, how shall we say, planning of conceiving a child. So preparing herself, it's not just, okay, I'm taking care of my body and I'm eating the right food and I'm, going with the menstrual cycle, but also now I'm preparing. I'm ready and ripe to bring a soul into my body and nurture it. And this is my absolute honor. So that feeling has to come. So people around also have to encourage young women today, get married on time, have children on time. This is a biological need. This is a process of life. Respect that it should be done in a way where you're able to then sustain it. You're even able to be a grandmother and run with your grandchildren and enjoy yourself. Not complain of knees paining, back is paining, this is happening, that. But having said that, just coming to our, the core point of how shall we say, the foundation of where we want to move towards has been Garbhopanishad. And I feel again, this is something which should be culturally again taught in schools, in colleges, in universities. It should be spoken about openly within families. What are the teachings of Rishi Pipalada? What has he laid out in those 80 sutras? It's just very short. Garbhopanishad is probably one of the shortest Upanishads. And how they have, in the Garbhopanishad, how they're very clearly elaborated what is happening in the first month of the baby in the womb, what is happening in the second month, which planetary influences affecting which part of the body is developing, bones are developing, muscles are developing. All this is happening when the child's soul is now able to start communicating more with the mother's consciousness here, because the child is still coming in from the spiritual world. Child is actually floating in between two states of consciousness. So for us as mothers to understand that we are carrying, the child is in an etheric body where the child is able to communicate to me in a way which only I understand. Okay, other interesting fact, now they found two things in their research, so-called research, which our ancestors already knew. They discovered baby's blood and baby's cells in the mother's brain. So in a way, if the mother is not well during pregnancy, child is also nurturing the mother back. Child has come to bring that prana and give health to the mother's body, that now my mother needs this. So they found those in the mother's brain cells. And the other thing which they've also discovered is that mother's breast milk also changes according to what the child needs. Same feeling that we have for Gaumata, that she knows what her community needs. She provides it through cow dung and cow urine and cow milk. That's why we revere so much to Gaumata and we worship. So just coming back to that feeling of selflessness, that matrubhav, that what does the child need? And child also knows what the mother needs. Now this is, science is proving, but don't intuitively we always know how the child is feeling, how am I feeling is affecting my child. And during our entire pregnancy, we take care of who I'm sitting with, what conversation I'm having, what film or some media am I watching. You have to become very aware and very conscious to these choices and decisions, that the senses of the child are taking in everything. And they are not just 5 senses. So many other senses are at play. The mind is developing. So all those impressions will then become like the blueprint, like we were saying earlier. This is the spiritual blueprint that is getting impressed upon the child and the baby in the garbha. And as the baby gets born, then slowly we start seeing those developmental stages unfold. Again, very important, even post-partum, means post-delivery also, for women to be supported, not to start rushing back to work, not to start doing things. They need at least 40 to 90 days of rest. The body needs that much time to recover. Yes, we see a lot of women in the farms and we see a lot of Adivasis, they're able to get back to work, but their bodies are wired differently. They have a different DNA. They've grown up with different kinds of foods even. So best not to compare and say they can do it, why can't you do it? That is not the point here. The point is that we are going through a process which has been discarded by society, which has been denigrated and looked down upon, that this is not important. What is important is to go out there and achieve a career in the world. And it is very contrary to what our biology is wired for. So very, very critical to understand the Garbha Upanishad, to follow all the Garbha Samskar practices, to slow down and to really enjoy the process of being a mother, and not only nurture the baby but also nurture ourselves. That, as I was saying earlier, is this whole sisterhood and this whole motherhood has to come, because earlier we used to live in bigger families. Earlier we used to have aunts and relatives and grandmothers and so many people around doing things, and somebody's bringing some food to eat and somebody's saying do this, and somebody's knitting for your child and somebody's bringing you a saree, and everybody's pampering the new mother to be, or second time mother, third time mother, whatever it is. Her needs are very important and her needs must be supported by the community. So this is where I'd like to sort of just bring it to a close and say that Garbha Samskar and Garbha Upanishad is a text and a cultural wisdom that has been passed to us, surely. But how we take it forward today in the day and age of social media and information technology is entirely in our hands, and we must make the most of it, where we can come together and be more connected rather than be more disconnected and keep telling everyone what is wrong with their bodies and what is wrong with their minds. let's start putting that narrative in the right light and say, what a great thing to be a mother, and what a great joy to be able to bring a child into this world with those right Sanatani values which our ancestors have passed down to us. And what a great honor it will be to offer these children in the service of humanity.
Brilliantly answered, Yuktaji. Actually, there was one question which was there in the back of my mind with connection to a swadharma, but your answers, you naturally gave an answer to that about, especially for a woman, what is, that matribhav, the development of matribhav, and how, she should be there for the child, and that it was a very organic way of giving an answer for that. So that got covered there beautifully. Ravi, what are your?
Absolutely. I mean, I have been listening, and we went through many phases, right? I mean, youngsters, their development, and we went to social media influences and shatru bodh, and we actually made a full circle coming back to Garbhopanishad and Garbha Samskaras and everything. Very enlightening, and I have been thoroughly enjoying it. I thought rather than asking questions, I sit back and listen to this.
I'm sure you have a lot of wonderful things to share, Raviji, especially about grandmothers telling beautiful stories, whether they are from the Puranas or just folk tales and folk songs.
Absolutely.
These are
And
things which,
I mean, that's where I know when I asked that questions, I mentioned about the stories. You rightly mentioned that we didn't have any mobiles or anything like that. We had TV, but we didn't have any mobiles or anything like that. So myself, my brother, and the people of my generation were actually went to sleep by listening to stories. Later, when I grew up, I understood they were not putting me to sleep. They were waking me up by those stories.
Very well said. Very well said, Raviji.
Yeah.
That is the way that dharma works. It wakes you up from that unconsciousness into consciousness.
Exactly. And the later I realized why this new generation people can't actually connect with people, why that the respect is missing, why they don't feel like empathy and all those things that have bothered me. Later, and the older generation does. So later I understood these stories put us in those situations. For example, when the Karna was getting embarrassed, we were feeling sorry for him, isn't it? And when Ravana was doing some bad deeds, we were thinking that is not right. So we were put into those situations, and we were told in many ways that what is dharma and what is adharma, and we shouldn't actually hurt anybody and all those things, and how they feel and things like that. So that gives a lot of mental exercise in terms of life lessons and things like that. And where the new generation lacks that part, where they can't connect with everything is a movie or everything is a an animation or something like that. They can't really connect to it. I don't know why it is. But when we were listening to the Puranas and Itihasas and everything, we were living in them, and we were taking roles in them. We may have done as a child, playing as Sri Ram and Arjun and all those things, right? We were actually taking part in those as characters. So that may have imprinted a lot of dharmic values in us. That's where actually it is missing in the new generation, where they don't have that connect, I believe.
Very true, very true. And I think, as we were mentioning, Raviji, earlier, that having this mobile and this gadget in the hand is isolating the young mind much more. In fact, the young mind, the teenager or the young adult, they need to be shown which is a life purpose. So we shouldn't be expecting them to figure it out. We have to kind of lead them into saying, this is how you do it. Provided there is a sort of a cultural framework. Like we were saying earlier, there's a Gurukula system. They used to go there, offer seva, be with the Guru. Or if they're going for higher studies, they would go and be with the Acharya, whosoever is taking them through those scriptural studies and texts. Then they would be dedicated to that, whether they're studying Vastu Shastra, whether they're studying Ayurveda, whether they're studying, anything else with regards to Vedanta, Advaita, whatever it may be, any philosophy. So very critical and very crucial to bring back these systems, and that is what the Macaulay system has done. Take away that morality, as you were saying, Raviji. That intention was to break, our empathy, our compassion, our connectedness, our feeling of our feeling of also having this, how shall we say, interconnectedness with each other, yes, but more faith. If I'm in trouble, somebody will come and help me. Somebody will stand up with me and somebody will show me the way, or something will happen for me. That is broken. That system is gone. We feel we have to fix it ourselves. Everybody has to fend for themselves, be independent, fight your own battles. This is not how human beings should be. In fact, now again coming back to research, Vidya ma, they found babies who've been isolated at birth actually had cells dying in them, and some of the babies even died. So that, to answer your question about, putting a baby in the crib, let them cry, it's all nonsense. It's a complete, as I said, it's a disempowering and disconnecting of the mother and child bond. You can't isolate a baby. In fact, that was the worst thing that they did for even senior citizens. They had the hardest time during the lockdown. Isolation itself is how can we say, is a cutting off of the limb. We're removing the blood circulation from that part of the body. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. Everything is connected. It's a whole, putting babies, mothers far away from each other.
And another issue which I actually forgot to ask is to do with the present generation, where now you get to see the gender dysmorphia, and that concept is introduced, where people they think today they can be a guy, tomorrow they can be a girl. I think that kind of a concept which is being thrust on the kids these days, especially when they're going through puberty, that I think that is again vested interests. Yukta ji, can you just give a few, what are your thoughts on that? Just like as a closing.
Again, same thing, ma, just being confused because we didn't know women have been asked to behave like men, dress up like men, behave like, think like men, and do work also like men in the corporate fields or in the offices. That is where the disconnect has happened. So women have to just come back into our own being of feminism, and the true understanding lies in Sanatana. Even the Western women are now adopting so many of the Sanatana practices. It's so wonderful to see. In fact, I know of a few women who have absorbed and integrated and assimilated the wisdom of Indian scriptures much better than some of us have done it. And I feel so much reverence, I can't tell you. It's like, as we say, wisdom is living. It doesn't matter, it's coming to us from the West, it's coming from somebody who's grown up in the West. It's wisdom, it's human wisdom. And that is how the scriptures were orally passed down. In the Guru Shishya Parampara, or how even the Vedas, they've been given through listening, through Shruti. So I think there's a time is coming where people are now recognizing that Sanatana Dharma is a true respectful way of living life for men, for women, for children, for families, with nature, with Mother Nature, in balance, in harmony with the ecology. And of course, when we say the 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, we are not discarding, in the name of spirituality and Dharma, we are not discarding living without fulfilling your basic minimal desires as a human being. There's no discarding of, cutting off of Artha also. We need monetary sustenance to be able to fulfill our desires, to be able to fulfill even our goals of Dharma. If I want to tomorrow set up an educational institution, we need wealth for it. So wealth creation is a very integral part of, And so when we were talking about how do we help young minds, in the very first question when you'd asked me, how do parents help to identify their children's dharma? What is their swadharma? Is to be able to accomplish all these 4 purusharthas. That you should be able to be so self-reliant that you are able to help others generate income. You are not the one asking and begging for job and salary. That is not the purpose of human life. That we are at the behest of somebody else passing something down to me. Our dharma, our Sanatan is teaching us to be including everybody. It's all inclusive. We are living together as a community, and we are bonding and we are growing together as a community. So it's never a question of forcing somebody else to buy something that they don't want. That's the consumerism thinking that we have to come out of. When we are in balance with nature, we are not trying to market and sell something to somebody. We're not forcing it down them. It's a very natural part of living when we are in balance. Whatever things we need, we know will be provided for. I work for it, I do my efforts, and I generate that income through my skills and through my talents or my inherent abilities, or through my family business that has been passed down to me, whatever it may be the case of. But there is no question of feeling a never ending or an endless sort of process of continued education and then one job and then next job and then I'll get promoted. I mean, that is not a satisfactory way of living. So contentment, again, very important part of Swadharma. Contentment, whatever is my desires and means, I can curb my expenses and live a very simple way of existence, can be very simplistically or simplified rather. Everything doesn't have to be so ostentatious and brands and, you know, it doesn't have to be what is the latest in the market. It doesn't have to be that. So contentment was very important. Why? Because contentment allows you to not only be appreciative and grateful for what we have, but from that space of contentment, we can offer ourselves better to others. If I am constantly running behind desires or telling you what you have is not enough, then I am no good to contribute to anybody in society. Because my mind is thinking in that direction. My mind is just constantly focused on what's the next to be achieved or what's the next to be acquired. And that is a very different mindset to what our ancestors had. I mean, we've had such great empires. They didn't get built on these principles for sure. Whether it's the Mauryan Empire, the Magad Empire, the Vijayanagar Empire, flourishing economies we've had, flourishing. It was for nothing that the people from the West were coming to do trading with us. I mean, trading was done in gold biscuits and silver coins and whatnot. So we have to understand that whatever those principles that they lived by or whatever methods of income generation they had were based on dharmic principles. That is when Lakshmi comes. No, Ashtalakshmi, like that, we can't expect her blessings when we are doing non-dharmic things. So for us, that is what I'm saying. When we worship our devtas and we understand what the scriptures or the chants, or, you know, when we do a chant a shloka, we understand the meaning of it. We develop a feeling and we develop a connect and a bond with that devata also. So we understand their qualities and we're able to embody those qualities. That's what it is. That's what the whole process of Sanatana is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ravi, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were starting to say, you know, the feminism and all those things, and usually when they say, you know, the old cultures were all oppressive and all that, I recently came to know that, you know, all in our ancient times in Indian culture, the well-known, famous, and most educated men or women were known by their mother's name, not by the father's name. Always been on their mother's name. So I connected. When I heard that, I connected with the stories, like, you know, Mahabharata and all that. Then I understood everybody is known by their mother's name, either by the kingdom or by their mother name. So mother's name. So I understood, like, you know, there is no way in saying oppression and all, which I already knew it is not correct. But still, and you know, a lot of good points being said. Shall we wind up? We have completed about two hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
It's been a pleasure to have you with us, Yukta ji.
Time just flew. I mean, like, I remember in between, I just looked at the clock and I was shocked to see that we had spoken and about 45 minutes, 50 minutes had just passed. Like, when did this happen? So it just flew. And Yukta ji, you must seriously think of putting all these thoughts as a book. I think it will become a runaway bestseller. It'll be really great. No, I'm serious. I'm really serious.
Yes, definitely. I've been told that earlier, and whenever that, you know, it's meant to happen, as we say, it's the blessing of Saraswati Ma and Lord Ganesha. So whenever it'll be
way of saying that will come in your writing also. No, it'll be beautiful.
Your passion will come in your words also.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
So,
and I was thinking of other sessions which we could have with you in future,
absolutely.
whether it's to do with Garbhopanishad or, you know, so many other things that we were talking about.
probably Garbhopanishad as a subject should take, so that I can know it's the focus is only on that and properly talk about it. You can do that in the future as well. And
most definitely.
Yeah, Yukta ji, it's been a pleasure to have you with us, and it's been a wonderful session. Thank you so much, and we pray that actually we could do more sessions with you in the future.